In this video, we're going to be looking at how to transform the graph of a function using more than one transformation. And we have an order. Our order is HSRV. So the first thing you look at is for horizontal shift. That's when you have plus or minus a number on the inside. The second thing you look at is any kind of stretch or shrink, like a number being on the outside or on the inside with the x. A reflection, so you can have either an x-axis or a y-axis reflection, depending. And a vertical shift, which means that's when the number outside of the function is being added or subtracted. So recall from a previous video, or previously you may have learned this, that if you have the negative on the outside of that f of x there, then you are going to reflect, that's going to be an x-axis reflection. And if you have a number on the inside, if you have a negative x on the inside, that will be a y-axis reflection. Also note that when you're dealing with numbers that are on the inside, it moves opposite of the sign. So if this was like an x plus 3, you'd actually move left by 3. And if it was x minus 3, you'd move right by 3. So it's the opposite. And this is the order we're going to look at. All right, so let's take a look at our first problem. We have f of x is shown. We want to find 2 times f of x plus 1. Okay, so do we have a number that's shifting on the inside? No, it's just the x. Do we have something that's being multiplied on the outside or the inside? Yes, we do. This one is being multiplied on the outside, which will be a vertical stretch or shrink, which means we will multiply our y-coordinate by 2. So the 2 in front of the f of x, 2f of x means multiply y coordinates by 2. Okay, so that's the first thing we'll do. We'll do an intermediate graph here. I'll show this one red. So the red one is just going to be 2 times f of x. Okay, so I look at these 3 y coordinates. I have 0, 0. If I multiply that by 2, it's still 0, 0. Okay, that didn't change. I have negative 2, negative 4, and I'm going to multiply that y coordinate by 2. So my y coordinate there is negative 4. It becomes negative 8. So it goes down to here. And then this one is 4, negative 2. So I multiply that negative 2 by the 2. Okay, so that gives me negative 4, 4. Okay, so this is my intermediate graph. This is not my final graph. I'm doing it in pieces here. So this is just 2 times f of x. Okay, now I need to do the shift, which is the plus 1. So my final graph will be in purple. Okay, so we'll take this same one in red here and just shift it up by 1. Shift every point up by 1, and by 1. So it would look like this and this. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. So we've got g of x shown. We have negative in front, and we have a number in here with the x. So that's what we have to do first, right there. So we take the same graph and we move it the opposite of this sign. So move it to the right. Move it to the right by 2, all points. So right by 2, and right by 2. There's my intermediate graph. Okay, that's without the reflection. Okay, now I have the negative g of x. And the negative, remember, it's an x-axis reflection. This is the x-axis. So I'm going to take that red graph and flip it across the axis. So the only one that you really have to plot is this one. It goes from negative 4 to positive 4. These are on the x-axis, so they don't actually change. So the purple one is y is equal to negative g of x minus 2. Okay, let's look at this third one. So the graph of g of x is shown. Let's do g of negative x and then plus 1. Okay, the plus 1 comes last. That's a vertical shift. So we need to take care of this negative x first that's inside, and that is a y-axis reflection. Okay, so here's the y-axis. So my intermediate graph, let's see, this is at 0, so you can't reflect that. But this one's at negative 4, so let's put a point over here at positive 4. and this one's at -2. Let's put a point over here at +2. So my intermediate graph here that's been reflected across the y-axis is that. Okay, and now we can shift it up by 1 to get the final graph. So up by 1 here, here, and it's kind of close there, but there we go. Okay, so that's about what that graph would look like. Okay, 3 more. We have h of x shown. Let's find 2h of x minus 3. Okay, so we do not have anything on the inside that's being shifted left or right. That's the first thing you do. Do we have a stretch or shrink, a number on the outside or a number on the inside? We do. We have a number on the outside. Okay, so when you have a number on the outside, that is a vertical stretch or shrink depending on the a value, and since it's bigger than 1, it's going to be a vertical stretch. Okay, so this number right here says it's going to vertically stretch by a factor of 2. So let's multiply our x values by 2. So this x value is, let's see, we can put our entire x values down here. So 0, 0 is our first x value. This one over here is 4, 2, and this one over here is -2, 4. Okay, so we are going to multiply our y coordinates by our a. So the y coordinate multiplied here does nothing, so that stays the same. The y coordinate here is 4. We multiply it by 2, it becomes -2, 8. So we're multiplying that y coordinate. So -2 goes all the way up to 8. There we go. And then this y coordinate gets multiplied by 2, and this becomes 4, 4. So 4, 4. So my intermediate graph is here and here. Now I do the rest of it, which is -3. So I need to go down by 3, and that'll be my final graph, which I'll write in purple. So I take this exact thing and just shift it down by 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and connect the dots. And this is the graph of 2h of x minus 3. Okay, next one. So do we have anything on the inside that's being, no, we don't. Do we have a stretch or shrink? Well, there's a negative here, but that's not going to stretch or shrink it. That's just going to be a reflection. So no. So we do go to the reflection. And remember, if there's a negative on the outside, like we have, it's an x-axis reflection. So the negative's on the outside, so it's x-axis reflection. This here's the x-axis, so we take these points like this one and just flip them down. So instead of 4, 2, it's 4, -2. 0, 0 can't be reflected because it's 0. And then -2, +4 becomes -2, -4. Okay, so that is our intermediate graph. Let me do what I've been doing and put it in red. And now for the last graph, I just shift everything down by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there is the graph. Whoops, didn't do that one very good, did I? There is the graph of, man, that's bad. That's ugly. That's the graph of y equals -f of x minus 4. All right, one more. So do we have anything on the inside that's being shifted left and right? Yes, we do. So remember, opposite of the sign. This is plus, so it goes left. So I'm going to shift this thing over left first by 3. So this point here, 1, 2, 3. This point, 1, 2, 3. And this point, 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's my intermediate graph with my first thing done, which is the x plus 3. And now I have a 2 that's out front, which is my only other thing. Remember, when there's a 2 out front, it's a stretch or shrink. Okay, and this one is going to be vertical because it's out front, so we multiply the y coordinates. Multiply the y coordinates by that number. Okay, so y coordinates by that number. Let me write what those coordinates are before we multiply them. This one is -3, 0. This one is -5, -4. And this last one is -3, 0. Oh, I already did that one, -3, 0. This one is -7, 0. So -7, 0. All right, so my new points, if I am multiplying the y-coordinate by 2. This one has a y-coordinate of 0, so it stays the same. This one has a y-coordinate of -4, so it becomes -5, -8. And this one has a y-coordinate of 0, so it doesn't change. Okay, so the only one that really changes is that middle one, which becomes -5, -8. So these points are the same, but -5, -8 is here. Okay, so that's going to be a vertical stretching.